So I think the other challenge also for when it comes to this liability, limitations of liability, another challenge is also insurance, right? Whether you know when there is higher limit, obviously your insurance going to cost
Your
more,
premiums will be
right?
higher.
Premiums going to be
Yeah.
higher, and then some may not even want to take up your contract to do the insurance. So that actually is another challenge. I guess before we move on to the next question, one question I want to throw in is: do you think this whole liability thing and the extent of liability is something that is deterring younger generations from entering into our profession?
Maybe I let the younger ones speak first. It didn't deter me.
Yeah, well, to answer the question, yes. So I was actually quite hesitant to actually do anything on my own for a long time because of things like this, and having seen how much we're held to account, right? Going back to what Catherine mentioned about the deep pocket kind of idea or narrative, that's one aspect of it. I think the other aspect is also clients always say, architects are the lead consultant, so they take full responsibility. I've seen a tender recently where I was asked to take full responsibility for consultants' work, sub-consultants' work. And I had to kind of work very hard to clarify that, the engineer is liable for his own, responsible for his own work, right? So yeah, it's very frightening. I think, especially now when for these more complex, higher value projects, more parties involved, it's quite a deterrent to me, I think. Yeah, or rather you have to think very hard before you you do it, Yeah.
So I mean, because my company deals a lot with government tenders, a lot of times they don't change their terms and regulations, and all the time it's a fixed format. They copy and paste a lot. So to us, actually, we don't feel that it is a deterrence actually. Yeah, because basically to get yourself into trouble is not that easy, actually. So a lot of times when things happen, as long as you are able to explain yourself, you keep within the law, basic compliances, common sense, I think it's very, very difficult to drive you into a corner and fault you for everything that had happened on site. Yeah, so it's not that scary actually. That's our gut feel to what is happening out there. So sometimes when we see the tender and it feels like it's a little bit too stringent, we also knew at the back of our mind that it's just a copy and paste exercise that maybe say the government has done, and at the end of the day, as long as we are able to resolve the problem, it's actually not so onerous on us.
Okay, so I guess younger viewers at home can take advice on that and come on board this profession.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I started out, I was very naive.
Yeah.
So, idealistic, want to be an architect, all that. So I don't think about all this liability stuff. But over the years now, I've built up a very thick armor.
Wow.
And I think it comes with the territory. So it's something which I say, because I'm teaching at NUS as well. Spider-Man's uncle says, with great power comes great responsibility. But I prefer to look at it the other way. With great responsibility comes great power. So if we don't embrace that, we don't embrace our role and take on the responsibilities, then we cannot expect ourselves to be influential, right? As you say, you look at if you are doing a government project, and then you look at the conditions, then you assess whether you want to, whether you can take that risk, and then price for it. It's very difficult to prove negligence. But of course, they could drag you through a very long lawsuit. But hopefully, you don't need to go through that. But at the same time, everything comes with risks. And even if you're not an architect, let's say you don't want to be a QP, you just want to be an ID or something, you can get sued as well. Doesn't mean you're not an architect, nobody's going to sue you. They will sue you as well. Yeah.
That's true. So I suppose another layer of protection would be the kind of practice you're going to set up, assuming that you're going to set up. There are different liability and business types. So how does setting up as an LLP, sole proprietor, or private limited impact your risk? Yeah.
Okay, it really depends on how you operate. So for sole proprietor, basically, you are not a separate entity. So if you're sued, then they can go for your personal assets. So same with partnership, not limited liability partnership, but just a normal partnership. So a partnership is just another version of sole proprietorship with more people. Then the next one, if you go to limited liability partnership, then you're still personally liable for your own actions, but you're not liable for your other partners' actions, but they can still go after your personal asset. So if you want to protect your own assets, then you set up a private limited, then that entity is the one that's sued. Then they can't go after your personal assets. But let's say the company takes out some kind of loan, whatever, and then you're the guarantor, then you kena again. Yeah. But that's only company structure. But the other way to look at it is actually like I run a partnership with my partner who is also my husband. And because we are very hands-on, so we control everything. So for us, the risk is very low because we don't have a quality control issue other than the mistakes we make ourselves. Not that we are perfect. But we don't have staff, so we don't have that risk of the staff making mistakes. So it's really up to you. Like if you're doing things yourself and you know you are able to manage your risks, then maybe sole proprietorship and partnership is okay. There's less admin work, there's less reporting to IRAS and stuff like that. But then if you are sort of doing projects where you got lots and lots of people, lots of staff and all that, then you cannot be watching them all the time and you cannot be checking 100%. Then you want to look at a structure that is less risky to your personal assets. So there's no right answer, you know. It's just how you manage your risks.
Or risk appetite,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned just now about the private limited, right, which actually kind of separates you from the practice entirely. I guess one of the things that is a hurdle for a lot of people is obviously that because the private limited, you need a paid up capital of
$500,000, yeah, 500,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a time it was a million.
No.
Okay, yes. I think
Yeah.
I think for engineer side there was a time it was a million.
I don't.
They brought it down
don't know.
to
Yeah.
half a million. Okay, yeah. So that's just one of those things that really, I've spoken to a few friends who are looking at trying to start up. They really want to go into the private limited realm because of the distinct separation. But at least $500,000 is just one of those things that the biggest hurdle that they need to cross.
But you can have an asset as well. It doesn't have to be cash.
Oh,
so
okay.
like if you buy, say you buy your office, right, and then the value of your office is more than $500,000 or something like that. You can use that too. You don't have to have cash in the bank of $500,000. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the $500,000, the requirement?
Well, it's to protect the public because if they sue you, then there's something there. Otherwise, $1 company, then but ironically, for contractors, it's a lot lower. I can't remember the exact figure, but the paid up capital required for contractors is a lot lower. So when you look at in terms of capital, right, contractors need to put in a lot of capital to start because they need the equipment and they need a lot more. But strangely enough, the paid up capital requirement is a lot lower. So this is something which I've also questioned. But I think it's there for the protection of the public to make sure that the architect has reached a certain status or a certain stage in your career where you actually have $500,000 somewhere, So it's kind of, so that otherwise, the moment you pass your PPE, okay, set up private limited already, and then $1, and off you go. You can't do that now. Yeah.
I guess it kind of makes sense because if you just start up, you definitely either got to work in the practice first, then come out as either sole proprietor or LLP, so that you, just because you are at risk, right, you might be more, you will do your best, right?
Yes.